Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city.
Come on! Let's get pumped!
Not drinking any fucking Merlot! What can I say? The camera loves me.
Shall we begin?
After you, Junior.
Hey, welcome to Logged It. This is episode 57. We're talking about courtroom movies. These are movies that revolve around the courts. This topic was brought to us by one Maggie. I then asked her, do you want to be on the show? And she said, nah. So there you go. Do with that what you will. This is going to be a fun show, though. We got a good panel here. People who talk about movies well, have good thoughts. I'm excited. We got Boatman here as always. Caleb, I've never seen that door behind you open. What's back there?
You did.
Sorry, that's just a bathroom. I'm sorry, I left the light on.
Cody, how's it going? You're also muted.
Yeah, I normally mute myself in between. I'm getting better at it. I'm awful. I went to work today. I went out to take a lunch. My car wouldn't start. I need my car for a 6-hour trip that I'm planning on Thursday. Got that figured out. I also have a show that I do on this channel called YLS. I have nobody for my panel tomorrow. Like, Marvel and DC and everybody under the sun is scheduled at the exact same time as my show. So, the show might be canceled tomorrow. There's a shot. Other than that, I'm here to talk movies. I even forgot about this. And then you posted this is tomorrow. I'm like, oh yeah, need to watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly real fast.
Yeah,
Good thing it's a quick watch.
Spoiler alert, I didn't finish it yet. So I've had a rough week. So
That's
yeah.
Right.
Right.
I did though.
I will get there this month. Okay, and Kirk, you're here. Hey, how you doing? You're not muted.
I was, but now I'm not because I muted myself before I talked.
Look at that.
Happy to be here, Tim.
Good.
I love legal thrillers. Thanks for having me.
Nice. And then Scott, welcome to the show. I asked you if you wanted to be on this one. You said, but I've talked about these on YLS. And I said, yeah, but you were good at it. You should come do it again. And now you're here. How you doing?
I'll twist my arm. I'm good. I have to say the door open behind Boatman reminds me a little bit of a movie that was released in theaters this weekend that had some mysterious open doors, but we might talk about that later. There are open doors in the movie. That's all. That's all.
We're going to talk about it, I'm sure. But I want to take Cody to see that movie so bad, but he would hate it. So anyway, we'll probably talk about it because if Scott doesn't bring it up,
it's a Barbarian, right? Is that the movie?
We'll talk about it.
You should bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So our favorite movie that we logged this week, we're going to start with that the way that we always do. So Boatman, why don't you kick us off?
My favorite movie that I logged this week, I'm going to choose a new watch. And I think in terms of new watches, favorite movie that I logged this week was, you know what? I'm going to go one that Kirk has talked about before, High Plains Drifter. This is a Clint Eastwood Western. I described it as like a mix of Fistful of Dollars and Needful Things. Because basically you've got this stranger gunfighter who comes into town, and at first the town's kind of like, yeah, but then he shows off that he can fight, and they're like, okay, we will give you anything you want if you come protect us. And he takes full advantage of that, like completely manipulating that and manipulating the town, and it's fantastic. Really like this one. Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen it, but I remember hearing about it from somebody. If you're saying it was Kirk, I believe you. It sounds interesting. I've watched the first two of the trilogy of films we're talking about later with Good and Bad and the Ugly, and I enjoyed those for the most part. So I might expand further into the Clint Eastwood westerns, but haven't quite gotten there yet. Cody, have you seen this?
No, Bowman just brought it up to me and told me I need to check it out. I have not seen it though.
Kirk, what about you?
Yeah, I think I did talk about it on the show when I watched it. Yeah, it's great. I'm glad Boatman watched it like that. I think Cody would too. It takes that old like standard Western trope of the town that needs protecting, but then it's like, what if the town doesn't deserve protecting? And it's just like a movie with like nobody to really like or root for, just like a lot of gross people and just kind of just waiting for everyone to get their comeuppance. It's got like some like quasi mystical elements to it. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. One of Eastwood's, I think this is the first Western he directed, and he just you see right off the bat, like you could see like the influence from Leone and everything and what he learned, because it's a really great looking movie too.
Scott, have you seen this one?
No, I haven't. I've seen a fair number of Eastwood's westerns, but this is one I haven't caught up with. But the description sounds interesting. The way y'all are talking about it makes it sound a little different, so I'll have to check it out.
Okay, Cody, let's go to you.
I say the best movie I watched this week. Yeah, I forgot to log it. I'm looking back on it. I watched it right before for football season. I'm going with Varsity Blues. Now the reason why I'm going with that, not to get a rise or get anybody else to trash talk it, but Mark put it out there very well. For a person that grew up and football was their entire life, that was basically from kindergarten to 12th grade, that was all you knew. This movie just like wraps it up perfectly. I lived in Missouri. I did not have the crazy Texas, like, it's football, then school, then everything, but it was basically my entire life for majority of my life. I just love the story between the characters. It fits very into the high school like dynamic for the students. It's a little cheesy. It's no masterpiece. It's completely over the top. I could have brought Remember the Titans up, but overall I've talked about that movie ad nauseum. But Varsity Blues, again, if you're going in for a football movie, it does everything it needs to. John Voight being an awful, mean, vicious head coach of the team. Paul Walker was like the injured quarterback throughout this. It's got some names throughout it. It's not acting. No one should watch this to become an actor. But to do kids around that age in like high school, they nail it pretty well.
I have not seen this, but I like sports movies, even like kind of cheesy bad ones. I tend to at least enjoy a little bit. So I'd probably like this because I like football, but I'm not like seeking it out by any means either. Kirk, have you checked this one out?
I saw it like when it was first came out. I remember not being a huge fan of it, but it's been so long since I've seen it that I'm not going to sit here and I can't tear it apart because I don't remember too many details. But it kind of blends together with me with Friday Night Lights and like all those like high school the program or high school or college, I guess, kind of all like morphed together in my head. So you can tell me pretty much anything about a football movie the past 20 years and tell me it's from this movie, and I'd believe you.
Scott, what about you?
Haven't seen it actually. I do love football, but this is one I haven't watched. I'm a huge fan of Friday Night Lights, the TV series, which strikes me as probably being the better, more nuanced version of this. But I'm sure there's some entertainment value to be had here.
And Boatman, what about you?
Varsity Blues I don't like, but it's not the one, like, I think this is like, it's kind of like a fun, bad type of movie. Like, if I'm being honest, like James Van Der Beek is doing something very silly, but it's not a movie that like annoys me. Unlike the Friday Night Lights movie, which those two movies have the same plot. They have the same plot. The difference is that Varsity Blues doesn't take itself seriously, and I respect that.
Fair. Okay. I'll go next. Like we were alluding to, I'm gonna talk about Barbarian. So this just came out in theaters this week. On Thursday, Maggie and I went and saw it, and I had a really, really good time with it. Again, I want people to go see this and go in as blind as humanly possible. So, like, I'll give you basically like the IMDb pitch, which is basically just, girl shows up at a house. She's supposed to be staying there in an Airbnb. There's already somebody in the house. She was double booked, and creepiness ensues. That's pretty much all you need to know to get in, and you should go see it. I think it didn't it was so close to being that 5-star horror movie for me. It was really, really close to getting there. There were a couple things that I don't feel like landed quite the way I wanted them to, but on the whole, thought it was really, really awesome. I like what the movie had to say. I thought that, again, the names are all over the poster, but the three, Scott, help me out. What's the name of the lead actress?
Georgina Campbell.
What else has she been in? Because she was great.
Not really that much. The only thing I've seen her in is the Black Mirror episode, Hang the DJ, which is the one about the dating service. She's in that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, cool. But she was great. Bill Skarsgård is in it, and he's fantastic. But I thought the standout was Justin Long. I think he does such a good job here. He plays the part that he's supposed to play to a T, and it's done really well. But overall, I thought it's a super surprising movie. Again, go into it as blind as possible, but I think it has one of the most tense, edge of your seat, suspenseful opening. What would you guys say? 40 minutes, maybe. Yeah. I would say roughly. Literally, the most I've been white knuckled in a movie in a hot minute, and I really liked the ending too. I thought the ending was really, really well done. But yeah, just a great movie. Like I said, I don't want to talk about it too much because I want you guys to just go see it. Trust me. So Cody and Boatman, you guys haven't seen it, correct?
No, the last time somebody labeled something the scariest movie I've ever made, I got sucked into the Green Inferno. Never following that train wreck again.
I will say this. I don't think this is the scariest movie ever made, but it's a very tense one for sure. And honestly, a really good theater experience. Really, really good theater experience. Kirk, did you see this? I feel like I saw you review it, right?
I have not seen it yet. I want to. Friday afternoon, I get a text from my daughter. She's like, "Oh my God, Dad!" I'm like, "What? Are you okay?" And she's like, I'm watching Barbarian." I'm like, "Okay," and she's like, "I'm like, well, if you don't want to watch it, just leave. You don't have to go." She's like, "No, I'm in the middle of it right now. It's happening." She's like, this was a mistake. I shouldn't be here." And I'm like, "Do you need to come pick you up? What's going on?" So she comes home and she's freaking out. She starts talking about don't say anything about it. I don't want to hear about it yet. So she takes Kathy in the room, and I guess she explains it to Kathy. Kathy walks back in the room, looks like she just witnessed a murder. And she's like, "You should not go see that movie." And I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Because no one should ever see that movie."
Oh, no.
And I'm like, you're just making me want to see it so much more now. So, yeah, definitely one I'm going to check out as soon as possible.
Scott, you saw it. What'd you think?
Yeah, it's great. They really hide the ball well if you've seen the trailer, which I saw the trailer tons of times leading up to this movie. But it doesn't let on at all what type of movie it is, because I saw the trailer and I was like, this looks super generic and really not that good, honestly. But then the reviews started coming out and people were saying, "Oh, this is Malignant for this year." So obviously I was pretty hyped when I went into it. I will say I don't think it goes as crazy as Malignant does. I think, there's nothing that really compares to that last 20 minutes or so of Malignant with Gabriel just going ham. but it gets moderately nuts, and it definitely has the same unexpectedness throughout the entire movie. Like, you really don't know what's going to happen from scene to scene, which makes it tense. And they do a really nice job of like sort of the Blair Witchy like fear of the unknown, right? You don't even know what's going to be around the corner. Um, and even when you do, you don't know what what could happen as a result of that. They do a really nice job, and in general, I think what it shares with *Malignant* the most is that they're both really well made. I was surprised because this movie is from a guy. Yeah, Garth mentions him in the comments, but he's mainly known for comedy. This is his first horror film. But we've seen obviously this happening now. Jordan Peele obviously is like the foremost horror director coming from a sketch comedy show. And now, Zach Kreger seems to be trying to do that. But this is it's a very well constructed movie. Visually, I think really interesting, more so than your average horror movie. Um, and and yeah, like they really know how to make it tense. I agree with you that I was definitely like white knuckling, what is waiting around the corner. And I also think it's a great, theater movie for sure. I had people, reacting, and there, it tries to be a little more thematic than *Malignant*. Like, it tries to have a little bit of a message, whereas *Malignant* was just like a straight up freak show. And I think that part is probably the least successful part of it, but it doesn't really matter because, it's just a roller coaster ride that I was happy to go on. So definitely go check it out.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Kirk.
Yeah. Sup T and I are continuing our journey through the Godzilla movies.
Nice.
And this week we watched Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. This is moving out of the Showa era, and it's moving, I believe it's called the Heisei era, or the Heisei era, or something like that. But anyway, this is like moving into the like late 80s, early 90s. So the effects are all updated, but it's all still very practical and really well done. And it's just a crazy movie, just completely bonkers. I guess the last Godzilla movie came out before this got destroyed at the box office by Back to the Future. So the remedy for that was to put time travel into this movie. And so there's like time travel, there's Terminator androids, there's all other kind of really cool stuff going on besides Godzilla, and that makes it more fun because that's really usually the downfall of these movies is what you have to watch and sit through before the monsters get on screen and start punching each other. So that's like all the other stuff. Like, it's a lot of fun. Like the miniature work is like looks more just solid and like, I don't know, like they're knocking it down. It looks more like they're knocking down Robo Billions. But like I said, it's all still practical. It's all still guys in suits. So it still has that charm to it. But yeah, like I said, there's time travel. King Ghidorah is just a giant 3-headed dragon. He gets beat and comes back. And I won't spoil anything, but like kind of like new and improved. And it's just like another round of the fight. Some really cool, Godzilla moments. So yeah, this one, like I said, this is the first one I watched from this era of the movies. And I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. I haven't seen this one. Like I said, if it's not part of that first era, I don't own this one, I don't think. But I plan on getting through all of these relatively soon. Scott, have you seen this?
No, I mentioned this before when Kirk has brought these movies up. I'm not really a kaiju person. I've seen like Godzilla versus Kong, and that's it, basically.
Okay. Boatman.
I haven't even seen Godzilla versus Kong.
You didn't miss anything.
Oh, Scott, you silly man. It's a beautiful film. Beautiful.
Hi, Tim. Nice to meet you. I'm Kaleb Boatman.
Nice to meet you, too. You'll enjoy it. Have a good time. Shut your brain off, have a Mike's Hard Lemonade, and enjoy yourself. Cody.
I have zero desire to watch anything from this. He gave it 3.5 stars, and he's talking like it's the greatest thing in the world. No, thank you. I need a giant ape in my Godzilla movies. I think that's where I determine, because I don't like any of the really Godzilla movies. But when King Kong shows up, quality.
Fair enough. All right, Scott, let's move on to you.
Kong bows to no man.
Yeah,
just the deadly seriousness of that. So I had, I had rom-com week last week for the movie watching challenge that I'm doing, and so I watched a couple movies, and the one that I enjoyed the most was this movie Down with Love, which is from the early 2000s. It's directed by Peyton Reed, who directed the Ant-Man films most famously. And this movie really deserves to be talked about more. It was kind of mixed reviews along when it came out, and I think has gotten more critical acclaim as time has gone on. But it's set in the 60s, and the production design and everything is really like amazing. Like the 60s world is rendered so perfectly in this movie with all the colors and like psychedelia and all that. It's they did a really detailed job with all of that. And Renee Zellweger plays this feminist author who writes a book called Down with Love, where she basically argues that women should, in order to prove that they're equals to men, they should like basically take the approach of men to relationships at the time, which is just like casual sex, and avoid any sort of emotional attachment or feelings. And then you have Ewan McGregor, who is a journalist who is a big, womanizer, who hears about her book and it becomes a success and decides that he wants to try and basically convert her. And it becomes a sort of fun dynamic. There's a sequence where they are talking on the phone. I'm not going to say anything more about it, but the way that it's edited is great. Like it is wonderful comedic staging in that scene. David Hyde Pierce and Sarah Paulson play like your classic rom-com friends in it, and they're great. Like I sometimes tire of like these tropey characters like this, but they're dynamic together because they're also kind of having a relationship is really fun. There is a twist at the end of this movie which doesn't fully work for me, but it's just a really fun time. And like I said, technically very well made for a romantic comedy. Like I was really surprised how well crafted it is. And Peyton Reed, I don't hate either of the Ant-Man films, but it does make you wonder what else he might have been able to do outside of the MCU. But it's a really underrated movie. And Renee Zellweger, I should say, I'm not usually a fan of her, but she fits perfectly, I think, in this era. She definitely has like that classic rom-com heroine type vibe about her. I think she's kind of more of that era than she is of the contemporary era, which is maybe why I'm not always a fan of her. But she's perfect for the role, and I found her pretty charming.
Yeah, I haven't seen this in a really long time, but this was one that I remember when it came out because my sisters were like all about this when it came out because it was in the middle of like the prequels. So Ewan McGregor was like super hot. Big Fish, I think, had just come out too. And I remember we went and saw that, or it came out right after this or something. And I remember it was just like Ewan McGregor was super hot at the time. And then it's like there's the musical numbers and stuff. And it was just like it was checking all the boxes for the Brzakala house. And so we played this on DVD all the time at my house. So I haven't probably seen it in over 10 years at this point, but I've always remembered this one very fondly. I saw you log it and I was like, man, I gotta rewatch that because it has been a long time.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you a ton about it beyond just having really fond memories of it and thinking it was really charming and a good time. So I'll definitely recheck it out now that it's kind of been put back in my brain. So Boatman, have you ever seen this one?
No, but you had me at David Hyde Pierce.
That's fair. Cody, what about you?
No. You lost me at Renee Zellweger. I'm not a fan, and overall, I just no. I looked it up. The thing was when Tim goes, "Oh," and I was like, "Never even heard of this fucking movie." But then Tim knows it. Of course he does. Yeah, not probably, maybe. I don't
know. Kirk, what about you?
I haven't seen it. Scott was telling me about this before. I'm kind of with Cody. Zellweger is usually a deal breaker for me. It sounds interesting because I like those rom-coms that have like the good like best friend characters because those could make or break them. Those can be the worst characters in the movie or the best characters. So if they're good, that helps. But still, it's going to be hard for me to get past her.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we're moving on to our least favorite movies that we logged this week. Boatman, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, my least favorite movie that I logged this week. I think I am going to go with. Oh, yeah, no. Interrupted Melody. This is one of those original screenplay winners. Do you like opera? I don't. No one does. But that's like 50% of this movie. I don't know why it won screenplay when you only had to write half a script and the other half was opera. Yeah, it's just kind of bad and a lot of opera, and it's not good opera. Yeah, kind of sucks. Not much more I can say about it.
We've definitely talked about this before. I think Payson brought it up.
He did.
And so no, I'm not gonna watch this. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Boatman's right. Not much more to say about it. Cody, what about you?
Yeah, I watched this movie and it's rough. It's two-part a movie. Bowman was watching this and he messaged me in Payson and he said, "This is what the whole movie's about." And I know the exact part because I stopped and said, "Is this what the whole movie's about?" Because she sings in this operatic voice for so long. It's awful. Like, I don't think it's good. I don't think it sounds good. I don't understand. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I was like, "This one's screenplay. This thing is terrible." Like, I don't think it was written well. It's something I think would be really, like, if you went to torture somebody and you just played this on loop for 24 hours, you'd get whatever information you wanted out of the person instantly. It's terrible. Like, I hated this movie. I was like, if this one has to offer, and then I looked at the movies that it lost to, and I don't care if it's a weak year. This one sucks. So, yeah, bad choice. Good thing you got it out of the way, though.
Kirk, what about you?
Yeah, this is why I don't commit to these kind of things. I'm still trying to make it through Best Picture winners, and there's like a good third of them that I haven't seen because I just don't want to watch them. And once I eventually do get this done, I'm not going to get deeper than that. Like I'm all set. I don't know if you guys get like a free sandwich or a T-shirt or something once it's all done, but I just don't think it's worth it.
What about you, Scott?
Yeah, no. I mean, to Kirk's point, like I feel like the only reason you would watch this is if you were doing the trying to watch all the original screenplay winners. And it seems like all the major Oscar categories have these like random ones where you just scratch your head. Like, this is like the cavalcade or something of the best original screenplay movies. So yeah, no.
All right, fair enough. Cody, we're gonna move on to you. Your least favorite movie log this week.
So there was a movie that my dad said was one of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh boy.
I don't have a great relationship with my dad, and this is kind of probably why. I watched Roadhouse.
Oh,
I watched Roadhouse. Multiple things go into it for me, okay? I think there are some good moments of Roadhouse. I really do. I think there are some really good moments. I think with the main villain guy, I think is great for the movie. Because he's over the top, he does this stuff. But there's a few, marks that they had to, hit to be able to be in Roadhouse. If you were a female, clothes were probably not an option for you. I don't think they had them in the contract because everybody and anybody is topless in this movie. They are all naked, everyone. And there's movies that come along that I understand it's movies and you have to have some, disbelief. You have to, it's a movie. But, the movie like The Boy, if I went into a house and they said, "Hey, you need to watch my son, he's a doll," the movie's over in 2 minutes because I walk out of the house and I don't watch the doll. Same reason for Roadhouse. This is a lot of work and commitment to be the bouncer of a bar. It's really weird. His pay is not great. overall, and everybody in the world is trying to kick the shit out of him. Everybody. His friends die. He gets beat up every chance he gets. This movie makes you believe that apparently you can rip someone's throat out with your bare hands. Like, and Patrick Swayze, rest in peace, I don't think he's that great of an actor. I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen the hits. Don't really get it at this point. I don't see it. But overall, this movie was just it was short, but it was like, it felt like it drug on so long. And it was like, I feel like if this movie came out when I was in college, it would be the bros movie that everybody would be like, bro, have you seen Roadhouse? Like, you got to check out Roadhouse. And then you don't talk to those people ever again after high school. They're the same people that talk about their high school accomplishments. This movie is not good at all. Like, overhyped. It's kind of like Point Break of the night. Like, I think that one gets overhyped and loved to a range that I don't hate it near as much as Roadhouse, but like, it's one of those things that gets elevated to a higher level than what it needs to be. Yeah, sorry.
You're good. I mean, I know that I've seen this movie, but it's like watched it on TV with my dad when I was 10. So like, I don't even know if I have it marked on Letterboxd because I
what an interesting 10-year-old watch, I'll tell you.
Well, it was a TV version, so
how do they even show it?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy.
I was probably older than 10, but anyway, yeah, no, I don't care about this. Weirdly enough, Maggie and I watched Dirty Dancing the other night. I had never seen that before. And I haven't seen a ton of Swayze, but we were watching that and I thought to myself too, the same thing of like, I really like him because he's charming, but he's not a great actor. Like, he's kind of got that like Keanu.
He's good looking.
Where like he could maybe like pull out like a good performance every now and then. Like, I think Keanu's got good performances in him, but he's more just like charismatic and charming, and you love the person more than like you love that he's like a great actor. Like, but I just can't talk about this movie too much, but I will watch it because like for the longest time, my favorite thing to quote from Family Guy was Roadhouse, which is just so stupid. But yeah, I'll watch it eventually. Kirk, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think I saw this movie like on cable. Like, I don't think I ever saw it like the whole way through. Like, if you piece together all the time the TV was on, and I watched some of it, I was probably seeing the entire movie. And this is like when I was like a junior high. But yeah, the late '80s, early '90s were weird with like Swayze fever. Like, that guy could just do no wrong. Like, he was. I'm trying to think of somebody I could even compare him to now, but I mean, he was just like. He could not miss. Like, you just throw him in like a movie or like an exercise video or whatever, and it was the greatest thing because it was Patrick Swayze. But yeah, the only reason I want to watch this movie now is because Ben Gazzara is in it. But other than that, I really don't have much interest.
Scott.
Yeah, I echo what everyone else says. That I don't know that I've seen the whole thing, but I've definitely seen scenes on TV. To be honest with you, this is kind of seems like the type of action movie I would enjoy. I'm not like in an urge to watch it or anything anytime soon, but I do love the over the top, ridiculous, campy, action movies that it sounds like this is.
Kirk brought up Ben Gazzara. Yeah, he is the best part of this movie. Like, as of like a villain like kind of role, he is perfect what he does. Like, there's a like, I won't spoil, but there's a moment of a phone call, and it's like one of the most like cheesy 80s 90s role, but he does it so well, it works out. But yeah, he's the only redeeming thing in this movie. Terry Funk, a WWF wrestler, is in this at one point, and that shows the acting talents throughout this movie.
Boatman, what do you think about Road?
This is one of those movies that really frustrates me because there's like 2 or 3 scenes where I'm like, why couldn't the movie have been like this? When the movie is like kind of like a backstage, like day in the life of a bouncer drama, it's actually decent. Like, I like those like kind of behind the scenes, this is how a job works type of movie. And I think that's interesting. Problem is, it's maybe 15% of the movie, and the rest of it is stupid, over the top action BS.
Yeah. All right. So I am gonna go next. I had a couple options to choose from this week. But I have to go with this one. It's a new release, one might say. It came out in 2022. Last week, Wednesday, we filmed a couple FANZONE debate matches back to back, and afterwards I stayed on call with Cody and Kirk, and we talked for a while, about life, love, the pursuit of happiness. And then I said, okay, guys, I'm gonna go. I got to watch 2022's Liam Neeson film Blacklight. And they looked at me and said, "What? Why are you going to watch Blacklight?" And I said, "Because I bought it on Blu-ray." And then they said, "Why'd you buy it on Blu-ray, Tim?" It was on sale. It's a new Liam Neeson movie. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be great. Liam Neeson. This movie's ass. It's a 1-star movie. I think I put on my review. Someone else, Brian was there too. And I said, "Sorry, Kirk, Brian, and Cody, like, you were right. Like, my B. This is bad." And like, don't get me wrong. A lot of the Liam Neeson action movies as of late, not great. A lot of them really, really not good. But if I'm being honest with myself, a lot of them I have a lot of fun with anyway. The first Taken is awesome. The sequels suck. But I liked Run All Night. I liked Honest Thief. I didn't hate The Marksman. It's not good, but I didn't hate it. He's got some that like are entertaining enough. It's to the point now where he's just old man who is just fucking shit up, and I kind of am into it from time to time. This is not one of those, and this is so generic. It's like beyond the point of saving. The cover for this is literally him standing there with a gun, and the tagline is, "They're gonna need more men." And I was like, "Oh, let's fucking go!" But he doesn't. There's no action in this movie until like maybe the last 15 minutes, and like I don't even give a shit. I'm gonna spoil this, but at the end of the movie, the big climactic battle with Liam Neeson and his military guy who betrayed him and sold him out and everything, because that's how it always goes, is literally him like taking him out of his car and being like, "Hey, you're gonna tell everybody the truth about this, right?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna tell the truth." And he's like, "Great." And then the movie ends, and I'm like, "What? Where were the more men? I thought they needed more men to kill Liam Neeson. What the fuck? I've been sitting here for an hour and 45 fucking minutes. It's 1 a.m. Maggie's upstairs with Bucky. I could have been in bed, but no, I'm fucking watching Liam Neeson not killing more men. I was upset. This is a terrible film. Why is it called Blacklight? Where were the Mormons? Tim Brzakala. Yeah. No, why is it called Blacklight? I have no fucking idea. Couldn't tell you. Man, it was just it was a bad time. And this is not the type of bad time where I'm like, ooh, The Marksman, the movie where he wears like a fucking cowboy hat and like shoots people. Like, no, it's just bad. Like generic bad, but also boring as all get out. Like redonkulous. I could not believe what I was watching while I was watching it. None of you have seen. Well, actually, Scott might have seen this. He sees a lot of new releases. No, he's like, no, fuck that. You see so many movies in the theater.
What I will say is, no, I haven't seen this. However, I totally foresee, like in a few months, when I have my first Warzone match of next season, and I use 2022 movies as a strength, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I saw everything in 2022. I got this." And then the first question is gonna be like, "In Blacklight, what is Liam Neeson's son's name?" And I'm gonna be sitting there like, "Damn it!"
No, you need to know his granddaughter's name. She's 5, but he's all freaked out because he worked security and stuff, and so he's always telling her like, "You need to watch your back. You need to watch yourself." So then the girl is like getting scared of strangers, and the mom is like, "You can't freak her out like that." Like, That's what you need to know. Also,
Every time.
you got to watch Memory too, Scott, the 2022 Liam Neeson film.
These are not real movies that year.
Yeah, and Memory was directed by Martin fucking Campbell, and that's also booty. Anyway, this is worse though.
I every time I see a new Liam Neeson movie, and I haven't seen a Liam Neeson movie since I think Cold Pursuit. I think that was the movie.
That was booty too. That was good.
That was I was always like, who is watching these? And I'm like, Tim. Tim is who's watching.
Me and Butler.
You and Tyler, because like these are like the equivalent to Adam Sandler movies. They're not what they once were. They're no equal up to who he used to be. Because I like Taken. I would watch Taken if it was on. I would watch it. I think it was great. Then he became a bad parent and got his kid taken multiple times. I just think like it just doesn't make any. I couldn't even. This movie had no clue that it came out, but also like Liam Neeson, you have the potential. You are a great actor.
Yeah.
Stop.
Well, and he has had a couple movies come out in the last few years that are that are dramas. Like he had this movie, I want to say it was called Ordinary Love. It was him and I can't think of the actress's name. Phantom Thread, Scott, the sister in Phantom. No, the sister.
Oh,
Leslie Manville.
Yes. Yeah. Where they play a husband and wife. That's really good, and he's so good in it. But then this was so bad that literally my theater didn't even get this. Like, I run a first run theater that gets new fucking movies. We didn't even get this at my theater. Like, is booty.
So do you think like the budget is like $10 million and he's pulling like almost the like $9 million per movie?
I don't even know, man. That's
like the only way is he's got to be financial. He's got to be getting like a fat bag every time he does these movies to keep doing these movies. There's no other way.
How much this? So this cost? It does not say on Box Office Mojo how much it cost, but it made $15.8 million at the box office, and I got to imagine this thing costs
because 65-year-old men go in there and be like, "This is the movies."
Oh, there is a scene where he punches someone, and it literally looked like if my 10-year-old niece punched like an MMA fighter. Like he was just like. It looked so bad. And there's a whole chase scene where he chases someone through the streets. I don't know how he kept up with that young 20-year-old, but it happened.
This had a $43 million budget.
You're lying to me.
He has to be making bags. That's the exact point. This is the only reason he keeps doing these movies. They say, put your name in it.
Where that money went.
To him.
Oh my god.
He probably owns an island somewhere.
Oh, definitely. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about Blacklight and My Problem?
Absolutely.
Get help.
I mean, I
$7.99 is not worth it.
These later Neeson movies, like he's kind of the king of like January, February, nothing else to see on $5 movie night. It's passable. But this one didn't even show up on my radar. Like I think listening to you talk about the Blu-ray is the first I heard about it.
I will say, and I know Cody's gonna not be pleased about this one. I've actually never seen the plain one nonstop. But
it was pretty good.
I just picked that up for $3.99. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable.
Okay.
It's a solid movie.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that one.
We're not watching it.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to Kirk.
I picked a handful of actors this year that I've kind of been trying to get deeper into their filmography or just rewatch some stuff I haven't seen. One of them is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Nice. Oh,
so I watched 2000's The Beach, and this was not a good movie. This is one of those ones like I remember the trailer. And like it's like the trailer has like gravitas to it, like, oh, there might be something to this movie. I never watched it. Finally got around to it now, and there's a reason why I didn't watch it, and probably a lot of other people didn't watch it. It's not good. It's just a mess. Like it's trying to be so many different things. Like it's kind of like this, I don't know, survival thriller type of movie. It has like references to Apocalypse Now. but it's also at the same time trying to package like young Leo for teenage girls. So it just a cacophony of different noises. It's about these, he's in Thailand and he's traveling, and it's him and a couple other people, and they're like these like douchey, privileged American and European travelers. And the movie kind of like half-assedly critiques that, but it also glorifies it, makes them look like they're the coolest people in the world. But you don't like them at all, and they come in this community of other people like them, and you don't like them either. And then they do like halfway through the movie, they do something like pretty despicable, and it's like, oh, now the movie doesn't want me to like them, even though I did. And then the movie immediately sweeps it under the rug and just like continues to proceed as if that didn't happen. And like I said, it's a complete mess. The acting is really bad all around. Even Tilda Swinton's in it, and she's not very good. But Leo is terrible. He is definitely still in his like teen beat Leo phase and not Oscar nominee Leo that we know and love now. He's still kind of figuring stuff out here. But his performance is just like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and like maybe he thinks he's doing like a satire or parody with some of the stuff he does in this movie. But there's an earnestness to it that I think he's like really going for it, and he just fails miserably. Directed by Danny Boyle, and there's a few moments here and you're like, oh yeah, that's a cool Danny Boyle thing. But then there's some really dumb stuff he does just way over the top, and it just adds to the giant pile of crap that this movie is.
I've never really deep dived into Danny Boyle's filmography. I know of this film mostly because I know that everybody doesn't really like it, and then Jake Marangoni gave it a 4-star. That's my main reason for knowing this. But I will watch it eventually because I do like Leo, and I kind of want to see like a bad performance, kind of weirdly enough. But like I said, Danny Boyle is a guy that like the movies that I've seen of his, I've enjoyed. I like Slumdog Millionaire, 28 Days Later. I just saw 127 Hours for the first time like a year ago and really liked that. Steve Jobs is one of my favorite movies the last like 10 years. So like I like the dude, but like this, from everything that I've heard, is just bad. So I'll get there eventually, but it's not a top priority. It's been in my Netflix queue for like 13 years. So Scott, what do you think about this one?
I haven't seen it. Some people may know this, but the sort of interesting thing about this movie is, yeah, it's based on a book by Alex Garland, actually,
Really?
of Ex Machina Annihilation fame. That's really the only thing that's that intriguing about it to me, because nobody talks about this movie anymore. And if it has Leonardo DiCaprio and nobody talks about it anymore, that probably means it's not very good.
Yeah. Boatman.
Yeah, haven't seen this.
Okay, Cody.
Kirk, when's your rewatch of Titanic going to happen? That's what I'm more curious about.
I'm all
Yes.
set. This is as low as I go with Leo.
Oh my
You're such a-
God, Kirk! Do you not like Titanic?
Hates it.
Do you have a heart?
No, he doesn't.
Have you met?
Oh my God, Kirk! All right. Anyway, let's move on then to Scott.
So it pains me to say that this was the worst movie that I watched, because I actually thought it was going to be really good. But I watched a movie called Little Children. And this is directed by Todd Field, who made a movie called In the Bedroom, which I think is really, really strong. Oscar-nominated movie from the early 2000s. Then he made this movie in the mid-2000s. Also received multiple Oscar nominations. Then he took 16 years off. And now he has a new film coming out this year called Tar with Cate Blanchett that is getting a lot of buzz. And that I'm looking forward to. So I wanted to catch up with this movie. Wow, I cannot believe that people do not talk about how insane this movie is. For the number one most insane thing about it is the voiceover narration in this movie, because it is based on a book, and I guess Todd Field decided that the only way to adapt this book was to basically put portions of the audiobook in the movie, because that's literally what it sounds like. I'm going to play you like 20 seconds here of a video that I took on my phone, and I will say that this is the only time in the movie where the narration works in a comical way, because Patrick Wilson's character is playing a football game in the rain, and so it sounds like a NFL Films documentary. So just listen to this.
Winds whisper of high hopes. Victory is in the skies. One joins with many on summer's green field. At 0-5, the Guardians were the basement dwellers of the Tri-County Touch Football Night League. The Controllers, a team of young hotshots from the financial district, were 4-1, with an explosive offense that regularly racked up 40 to 50 points a game.
So just imagine that.
Wow.
And imagine that throughout
That is
the
not
entire...
from a movie. I don't believe it.
It is real, Kirk. And imagine that in other scenes in the movie, like actual serious dramatic scenes. I mean, there's a major character in this movie who is a sex offender, played by Jackie Earle Haley, who actually got nominated for an Oscar. And there's that type of narration going on.
For this
and
movie?
For this movie. It destroys any type of subtext that would be like, which is crazy because Kate Winslet is in this movie and she can do so much with just like, not even saying anything. And yet the movie feels like it has to go out of its way and ruin any subtext. The last thing I will say, and I will mildly spoil it because this isn't really a movie where the plot matters, but Patrick Wilson and Kate Winslet are having an affair. And at the end of the movie, they decide they're going to run away together and they're going to meet up in the park. And they're going to run away together. And Kate Winslet gets to the park, and she's waiting for him. And Patrick Wilson is like dramatically running, very dramatic. It's very dramatic. And as he's on his way to the park, he comes across a bunch of teenagers skateboarding. And for seemingly no reason, he decides that he's going to stop and do a skateboard trick with the teenagers. And he does a trick, falls on his face, and ends up getting taken to the hospital. That is this movie that was nominated for multiple Oscars, directed by who I think actually is a strong filmmaker. This movie is just nuts. I can't believe more people don't talk about how nuts it is. I'm still looking forward to Tar, but man, this is craziness.
This is getting great reviews on Letterboxd. We got 3.5s, 4.5s, a 4, a 4.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean,
it has
some of these
parts,
sources though.
You got your Jakes, and then you got your Adam Collins, your Michaels, your who was that? Marisol gave it a 4.5. So like, it's kind of crazy. But this is the movie. I know this movie as the poster where Kate Winslet and Patrick Wilson are naked on the poster. Yeah. That's how I know this poster. And this movie, I've never seen it. But this is one of those from that era of like movies that have nothing to do with each other, but I always like think of like, oh, I want to see that. For some reason, it's just like those like black posters with like characters just like seductively standing there or something like, and just like they all came out like, again, maybe it's the Kate Winslet, because Kate Winslet is in The Reader too, right? Like that was one I've never seen where I'm like, I like conflate all of these movies from like the mid 2000s, but yeah, oof. Interesting. I'm excited for Tar. That looks great.
Yeah, I still am, but
yeah. Wow. Interesting. Has anybody else seen this?
I just wanted the sound from NFL Films to pop in. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers are counted out, but only them.
The
only they
monsters of the Midway.
Only they believed in themselves. Like it's just like so bad.
Yeah, that reminded me that The Beach, I forgot to mention, also has some really bad narration, but it's not nearly as bad as the clip that Scott just played.
Yeah, imagine if that was in like every movie. Just and that.
Yeah,
Mark Zuckerberg. Imagine.
I just thought of I thought of Sunset Boulevard, but with that narration over it instead. It just sounds so bad.
Lambeau Field,
the frozen tundra.
All right, let's get into.
Boatman's loving these football references.
Boatman knows what Lambeau Field is.
2 teams go in, 1 team comes out.
You know what?
Super Bowl 1.
You know what Lambeau Field is, right, Boatman?
Should I?
It's where the home of the Packers.
The Packers Stadium.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I thought your dad was a Packers. Okay.
My dad's a Packers fan, but that doesn't mean that I know what the name of their stadium is.
Well, you know what? He probably cares about that you're the movie Warzone champion. It'd be nice if you cared about what your dad likes.
Yeah.
Jeez. He brought you in this world. He'll take you out.
Let's move on to our list. So we're talking about We're talking about courtroom movies. Bowman, kick us off. What's the first movie on our courtroom movie list?
I'm not going to take the obvious. You know what? No, I'm not. I could do that. I'm going to take the obvious one. Hi, I'm Kaleb Boatman. My favorite movie of all time is 12 Angry Men. Have I talked about it 1,000 times on shows? Yes. Will I talk about it 1,000 more? Yes. It's my favorite movie. I'm not going to not pick it. Yeah, I love the different dynamics between the characters. And, like, the way, like, obviously 8 and 3 are like the two big ones, but I love like just the other, like Jack Warden just wanting to be done with everything. I really like E.G. Marshall's analytical elements. I think 11 and 12 are like the funniest characters. Specifically 12 gets a lot of great lines. This is one of my all-time favorite. This is my all-time favorite movie, and I will always love it forever.
I want to make something clear here because I just started doing this week. I'm going to go back and do this for every episode of Logged It for the last 56. But basically, if you've ever been on our Letterboxd page, we don't have star ratings on any of the movies because how are we going to quantify like what we would give a movie? But what I thought would be fun is I was thinking about like, wow, there are some movies that we talk about a lot on the show. There are some we don't. So what I'm doing is every time a movie is brought up, I give it the watch. And if it's in a positive light, so if it's on the list or it's in the favorite movies we log this week, I give it a like as well. If it's if it's on the least favorite, I don't give it the like. What I've started doing is if it's a movie we've talked about a second time, I add half a star to it. And then another half star the next time we talk about it, and so on and so forth. So by this point, there are some movies like recently we've talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once like 4 times. So it would be at 2 stars or 1.5 technically if you follow me. So right now 12 Angry Men is sitting at a half star. That does not at all imply that we think this is a half star movie. It's just to show how much we've talked about it, and it will it'll eventually get up there. I just thought that was going to be kind of a fun thing, but as I was hitting 12 Angry Men at a half star, I realized how fucking ridiculous that was, that I also have Blacklight at a half star, because apparently somebody else talked about that a few months ago. Wasn't me, but somebody did because it was already marked as watched. So 12 Angry Men is great. The last time we talked about it on the show, I mentioned that I hadn't seen it in years. It's been such a long time, and I need to give it a rewatch. I haven't done it, but I need to really bad, because it's one of those where I remember liking it when I saw it, and you guys know me, I'm not a classics guy. So the fact that I liked it when I was like 17, 18 years old and saw it means that I would probably like it even more now. So I will get there. But yeah, great movie. Of course you were going to pick this. Don't feel bad about picking it. You should. If I have an opportunity to put Monsters Inc. or Lord of the Rings on the list, I do it every fucking time. Cody, 12 Angry Men.
Yeah, 12 Angry Men. I knew this was where Boatman going, but I figured maybe he wouldn't just because of that. It's one of the best 90-minute movies, like a little over 90-minute movies that's ever been made. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The character development this movie does in 90 minutes. Some movies wish they could even do that with the 3-hour runtime that they have. I think it's absolutely incredible of a film. I think how all of them play off each other what makes this movie. The Courtroom, I know there was debate at one point, does this count as a courtroom because they're all side of the courtroom? Doesn't count. I think it absolutely 1000% counts. I think and like when people like, we talked about this a while less, like Jack picked Henry Fonda as one of the characters like to put up at the top thing, and I don't even think he crosses like the top like 6 of. I think there's so many great performers. He's the guy that's driving the entire thing, but those characters that play off of him are the real stars of this movie. So absolutely great choice. It needed to be on this list. If you were going to pass it, I would have probably picked it. So,
Kirk.
Yeah, I talked about it a lot too. This is just a great movie all around. One of the greatest collection of character actors probably ever. A lot of Twilight Zone guys, which is a plus for me. And this is like you were saying about getting into classics. This is I think this is one of, like, the first like classic movies I watched as an adult, and it really lived up to I realized like, oh yeah, there's something to this. I remember the first time I saw it was on a big screen theater, local theater had a revival of it, so I really like to watch it that way. But yeah, just the situation and just how simple it is, but like Boatman alluded to, just the characters, and I love how episodic it is. Like, it basically takes each character and breaks down their argument and kind of like works its way through. Yeah, again, I've said so much about it already. It's a fantastic movie. Great pick.
Okay, Scott.
Yeah, it has to be on the list. It's an all-timer. I think this is one of the few movies that is like, there's not really any room for negative opinion on this movie. Like, I'm sorry, I try to be, respectful of everyone's takes, but like, I don't think you understand movies maybe if this isn't like, a classic to you. Like, it is so flawlessly successful in what it sets out to do. That yeah, I mean, you would be hard pressed to find faults with it. I love it. It's definitely one of the first classic movies I watched as well, and it's a classic movie that I could show to anyone, whether they are into classic films or not.
I do want to also mention, because Cody kind of said, like, does it qualify? Does it not? He thinks it absolutely does. If you bring it, it's on the list. That is the rule. It logged it. So I definitely, a couple of my ideas that are floating around might challenge whether or not they actually count or not, but I'm going to talk about them anyway. Cody, we're going to go to you next. What is your first pick for the Courtroom Movies list?
So there's a lot of people in this panel that expect me to go at least two of these, and I'm not bringing up either one right now. I'm bringing up a movie that wasn't on my top 100, is now on my top 100. It keeps moving up every time I watch it. The fact that this is not more readily available is disgusting. I'm doing Judgment at Nuremberg. Judgment at Nuremberg is one of the best movies I've ever seen. In the way that this movie, like, there are different people, like, in different movies, like, there's court. Like, the whole thing about a courtroom setting or whatever is there's a guilty party and it's a judgment of your own peers, basically. But this movie puts so many hard tests out there because it is basically Nazis on trial and defending their actions for the rest of the world. Like, it's so difficult. You can't side with the people. But this movie basically puts the entire world on guilt, like on trial, in a way. Boatman's going to help me with this. The guy that won the Oscar,
Maximilian Schell.
Maximilian Schell is basically, well, he is not. He's the defense attorney for the Nazis, and he gives a speech in this movie. It's called, if you look it up, it's called "The Guilt of the World." Basically, he's saying, you're putting us on trial for what we did in the situations that we were in, but are you going to hold America? Are you going to hold Britain? Are you going to hold France? Are you going to hold all these people? While you all saw him rise to power, you all let him go by, you all shook his hand, you all said welcome to, like, but you did nothing. So don't put me as the guilty party. It is, and Spencer Tracy is like the main judge on the trial, which Spencer Tracy is one of the greatest classic actors of all time. And what's his name? He's also Burt Lancaster.
Yeah,
he gives a heartbreaking speech in this movie. It is just how it's not more available, because I think this movie should be shown in like schools. I think this is like, stop showing. To Kill Mockingbird's great, but like show like this. I think, especially like a history class, because it's such an interesting thing that no one talks about. I learned about it in school, but the movie does such justice to this trial and what all have. Like, I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely a brilliant movie. So if you can find a copy, if you can do anything, I had to do other means to actually watch the movie, but it's an all timer for me. I love this movie.
I have not seen it, but I've only heard incredible things from you over the last year or two that you've been watching and rewatching it. And I just even looking now at your letterbox, I saw that you made the jump from 4 to 5 over the course of about a year or so. So this is one where I'm not going to bring up this movie, so sorry if somebody's going to bring it up, but like when it comes to classics and courtrooms, I tend to like them more, the classics. I just watched like Anatomy for a Murder like maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, and I really enjoyed that one. So I have a feeling and like that this would be something that I would really, really enjoy. Just classics and this type of setting, I'm way more keen on than other types. So yeah, I will watch this eventually. Kirk, have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it. Last time first time I saw it was in high school. Like Cody was saying, I haven't seen it in a long time. I do want to go back and rewatch it. I've read a lot about Nuremberg and just the whole like post Holocaust ideas like just fascinate me because like how do you put somebody on trial for that? Like how do you make up where's the justice? Like can you get justice? So like those kind of ideas are just really fascinating to me. So it's definitely one that I am looking to revisit.
Scott, what about you?
I've seen it a long time ago. When I was in high school or so, I tried to watch, I was just watching like every courtroom movie I could. And, I watched a bunch of the classics. And like, for some reason, this was the one that like didn't stay with me. However, I definitely think I would feel differently if I watched it again because for whatever reason, a lot of my favorite movies feature Nazism in them. I love Inglorious Bastards. I love Casablanca. I love Schindler's List. Cabaret, which I just watched for the first time this year, I thought was incredible. And features Nazis pretty prominently in it. So I think I would find this fascinating if I were to rewatch it. Just the whole moral discussion that you guys are describing sounds something like the type of stuff I love and why I wanted to get into law in the first place.
I think that's an interesting thing about like the Nazis in film because I talked to somebody else about this. They play like they're the easiest bad guy to put out there because no one should sympathize with them or thing. But this movie is one of those movies that flips it on your head and kind of like looks into their like psyche of like take that as like the ultimate villain of what most of the world would consider to like try to humanize them, which I think is insane. So like it was interesting where we're like, why does like we cling to it? Because they're the ultimate bad. Like that's why a lot of us cling to like movies like that, like Indiana Jones. We all root for him because it's easy to not root for the Nazis.
All right. I'm going to go next.
I think
Boatman still needs to talk about it. My bad. Boatman, go ahead.
The one thing that hasn't been said that I'll bring up, Montgomery Clift is so good in this movie. He plays one of the witnesses on trial for like the Nazi sterilization things that they would do, and he's like plays someone who was sterilized, and his mannerisms. It's like he is so good in that movie. I mean, it's a fantastic cast. Young William Shatner is in there for like 20 seconds, which is kind of funny.
Nice.
Judy Garland too. Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. All right. I'll go next. Again, this is one that like I think it counts. You can get. We could talk about the semantics or not. I'm going with 1999's The Insider. I feel like this counts. Like there's court parts of it. It's not all courtroom, but again, there are movies that like I hope get brought up in other spots that like I not the whole movie takes place in the courtroom, but there's so much like legal and like obviously like the whistleblowing and like the legal stuff and like everything that goes into this story. Like I just find it like really, really interesting. And I saw it for the first time like 2 years ago. Maggie and I watched it and I really, really enjoyed it. And then I was like Googling courtroom movies and legal movies and stuff. And I saw this one pop up on like a lot of lists. And I was like, yeah, you know what? No, I really, really liked the movie. I thought Pacino and Crowe were both really, really great. And I like Michael Mann as a director a lot. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought that the legal like ramifications of like big tobacco coming down on like a whistleblower like this was super interesting from someone who just like wasn't wasn't around at the time, like didn't know about any of this. And those are my favorite types of movies, is when I get to actually like learn something real and have it be like super like interesting. Like there are definitely other movies where like I think are better suited for like specifically that word courtroom, but also are just like so over talked, and we talk about them all the time. And I don't really like, I feel like people like this movie, but I don't really hear people talk about it all that much. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. Boatman, what do you think about this one?
Oh yeah, this is really good. I don't necessarily think about it as a courtroom movie, but it's completely fair. Russell, this is maybe my favorite performance from Russell Crowe, like either this or A Beautiful Mind. I think he's really good in this. Pacino and Plummer are also really good. Yeah.
Cody.
Gladiator, Boatman, Gladiator. Surprisingly, never seen this movie.
Oh, I think you would love it.
I know everybody tells me I love it, but I'm always worried about people tell me I'm going to love it, and I'm like, oh, now it's like built up to a certain level. No, but I mean, with who's in it and who directed it and all that stuff, it's definitely set for me. I've never picked the time.
Fair. Kirk.
Yeah, solid movie. Russell Crowe's really good in it. I really enjoy one man against the world kind of movies. And I think like this genre, the courtroom legal thriller, kind of lends itself to that. There's a couple movies I'm actually thinking about bringing up tonight that fall into that. But he's really good in it. Pacino, I just love his character, where he's, you're never quite sure, like, he's into it, but like he's also in it for the story. So like you're kind of just, like Crowe's not trusting him. You don't necessarily fully trust him. And then Plummer, his character, and kind of the hill turn he takes towards the end. And just like I said, just one of those movies where it's like everything, it's just one person standing up for what's right and everything going against them. That makes for great drama.
Scott, what about you?
I love this movie. Yeah, this is a great pick. I wouldn't have thought about it for this topic either, but I mean, yeah, totally agree with what everyone said. The script of this movie is just fire. I love that line where Pacino's like, ordinary people under extraordinary circumstances. What the hell do you expect? Grace and consistency? That's just like a great line that really like sums up what the whole movie is about. And yeah, Christopher Plummer plays a great Mike Wallace. It's fascinating subject material, and man does such a great job with like the details of like the procedure. I mean, it's kind of a procedural in a way, and I'm totally in the bag for those. So love it.
Great. Okay, let's move on to Kirk.
All right. I'm going to stay on brand, and we're going to go back to back Pacino because I'm going with Injustice for All. This is another movie I've talked about a lot. One of my favorite Pacino performances. I think it's one of his more underrated movies. I just think what I like about this is it shows it doesn't. This is another one that doesn't spend all its time in the courtroom, but it shows the effects of the courtroom and the effects of the system, and just how completely dehumanizing it is. How it, how it dehumanizes the people who are trapped in it, who are stuck in it, who are like kind of get ground up in its wheels, but also the people who run it and people on the periphery. How the clients and the people here involved just become commodities, and how they lose their humanity in dealing with that, and just watching his friend fall apart, because he got a murderer off, and then because there's one overarching storyline, but there's a lot of little tiny like cases and clients and things like that all kind of piece together, just slowly erode Pacino's character down. And the big sexy scene is the one at the the climax in the courtroom. You're all out of order, but the one I think the scene of the movie for me is the scene in the parking garage, after his you don't know it yet, but the audience doesn't know it yet, but his client has killed himself just because of a lazy error that another lawyer made, and he went back to prison and killed himself. And Pacino just goes after that guy and just lets loose. Just, don't you care, Warren? Don't you even care? They're people. And like that's just him finally like realizing what this is, and I think that's what leads to that final scene is like what he goes through here in that scene. But it just he, like I said, he's so good in it, and it just really, to me, is the greatest. It may not be like technically, accurate as far as how it all works, but just like the spirit of how crushing that system is just like the perfect view of it. I love this movie. I could watch it a million times.
I have not seen it. I know the famous quote, but I have not seen the movie. I want to. I love Pacino. I've realized how much I love Pacino over the course of the last couple years, but I mean, there's only room for one Pacino fan in this community, and that's Kaleb Koho. So the rest of us have to back up and let Koho enjoy. But I will get to this eventually because Courtroom, Pacino, you got me. That sounds like a good time. Scott.
You did a nice imitation of him there. I don't know if you were trying to or not.
I did.
Okay. Yeah, another one I haven't seen in a long time. I do really like it. Obviously, the performance is great. The one thing I remember is that it was a little tonally inconsistent, which is maybe why it wasn't like my favorite because there's some like times when it verges more on comedy, but then there's also the very serious like more moral questions and stuff like Kirk's bringing up. So my memory is that could have fused those a little bit better, but yeah, another one I don't have any problem with it being on the list.
Boatman?
Yeah, no, I like this movie, and I honestly kind of like some of the tonal inconsistencies, specifically with Jack Gordon's character flying the helicopter and freaking Al Pacino out. Like, I think that's a really fun scene. Yeah, no, I think, and like Lee Strasberg is really good in this movie as Pacino's dad. Yeah, fantastic.
Cody?
This movie is absolutely incredible. I think Jeffrey Tambor, as his friend, that basically like puts a interesting spin on it of basically like, hey, like they're defense attorneys and like basically they went to do all this stuff and he got his one client. He comes in the middle of the night crying or whatever. He comes in the middle of the night and it's just like, I got the guy off, and he got out and did it again. And like you just think like that's the most gut wrenching. Like if he would have done like a crappy job, the guy would have been locked behind bars. But if he did a good job to get him out, and that's what happens. I mean, the judge that he's like defending or whatever, such a sleazeball, just like an awful like, human being. Like, and how him and Pacino interact with each other, and like Pacino's like, "You're the scum of the fucking earth. I hate you. You're the reason." Like all this, but he has to do the job because he's like basically blackmailed into basically doing it. And then, yeah, I'm with Kirk. I mean, it's in YLS's clip, and it works perfectly for my show. But the best scene is in that parking garage when he's beating the shit out of the fucking car because he doesn't know how to express himself because he's so mad about he trusted another guy to just do a simple task, and he just let the guy go. And he's like, "It doesn't matter." And he's like, "You just go and talk to the judge." Like, I can't. He's gone. Like, he's out. Like, and I think it doesn't get enough credit. Yeah, I just think this is an absolutely incredible performance from Pacino. 70s was his decade, that's for sure. Like, he is untouchable in that 70s.
Okay. Scott, we're on to you.
All right, Boatman did it. I got to do it too. A Few Good Men.
What?
I knew you were going to do that, so I didn't.
I'm shocked.
It is my favorite movie of all time, so I would feel weird if I didn't. Yeah, I mean, it feels strange, like a strange task to try and describe why I love this movie in such a short amount of time. But I think it is just like from an entertainment level, it is just off the charts. And it is a movie where everybody involved is at their absolute peak. From Aaron Sorkin, obviously, his breakthrough was writing the play that then became this movie. Rob Reiner, I think, does a really underrated job of keeping this movie on the tracks and, exercising some control over Sorkin's, maybe more negative impulses. You have Tom Cruise just like exploding with charisma in this movie. Even though his character is like such a, cocky and kind of an a-hole, like you can't help but love him and want him to succeed. But also the relationship between him and Joe Galloway Demi Moore's character is so perfect, because they both need each other. She is not the advocate in the courtroom that he is, but he doesn't, believe or care about the innocence of these guys until he meets Joe, and she really becomes passionate with him. Prior to that, when the movie starts out, he just wants to settle the cases. He wants to, plead them out, get a set of steak knives, and go on his merry way. So they both need each other, to end up accomplishing the goal that they accomplish. The courtroom scenes just crackle. I love the whole scene that he has with Noah Wiley's character, Corporal Barnes, about, where they're looking in the book and, oh, well, where's code red in this book? Well, it's not in there. And then, he redirects him and is like, well, where's the mess hall in here? Well, it's not in there. So you've never had a meal? It's great. And the cross of the doctor, and like all the examinations just have like that fire that you want from a courtroom scene. And then obviously the ending confrontation is, one of the all-time great scenes between Cruz and Jack Nicholson as Colonel Jessup. Yeah, I just love this movie. I know like every single line of this movie. It's one of the major reasons that I ended up going the career route that I did, and it's been my favorite movie for so many years now, and it really hasn't come close to toppling off the podium. So, it belongs on this list. I think it is one of the greatest courtroom movies, and obviously, for me, it's my favorite movie of all time. So I had to pick it.
It's a great fucking movie, as Mike Hanley would say. I saw this for the first time a couple years ago. Maggie and I watched it together. My wife also loves the law, as they say, although she's currently working on the table right now. She might not love the law right now, but I think overall you love the law, right? Yeah, she nodded. So we watched this and really, really, really enjoyed it. This is one of those that like lived up to the hype when I saw it, and thought it was just really excellent. Tom Cruise I love, so like I tend to like most things that he's in, but Jack Nicholson is great. That ending scene does live up to the hype, but the just build to it is just as good. And I didn't know much about it going into it. I knew you can't handle the truth. Like I knew that was the quote. I didn't know what the truth was or anything. So like, I didn't even know what they were on trial for or anything going into it. I just knew it was a military based court movie. So
It's similar to Judgment at Nuremberg a little bit in the subject matter. And in fact, there's even the line where Kevin Pollak's character is like, what, you want them to use a defense that didn't work for the Nazis at Nuremberg? It's the whole they're acting under orders type of thing. So
no, I really enjoyed it. This is one that like I said, I've only seen the once. I do need to rewatch it. But I loved it when I saw it, and can't wait to watch it again for sure. Boatman, what about you?
Yeah, no, brilliant movie. Nicholson is like great. I do think this is a really good Cruise performance, though. Early Cruise can sometimes be hit or miss. Cruise is really good in this. And yeah, that scene, like, it's a lot of attention, but I like a lot of like before stuff, the gathering of the case and everything. So yeah.
Cody, what about you?
Yeah, I had the privilege to watch this with Scott on call. I picked it because I really just wanted to watch the movie, and Scott just happened to be on one of the calls. I love this movie. I was one of the people that always said it's like a 4-star movie with a 5-star scene. I've come back on that. I think the movie overall is great. Everything that builds up gets you to that moment. There are a few scenes that will get me like completely just like mesmerized if I've seen the movie before, but that last scene is one of those that will always just like, I know every line, I know every word, I almost know every like how he says it. It's still crazy. I just saw, like, I was like, what did he lose to? Like, who did he lose to? Gene Hackman in Unforgiven. Like, that's a real tough, like, back to like 2 shot. And Pacino was also in that year, but he just gives such a great performance. I love this movie for different reasons than other Courtroom, because this has an element that's so hard to like beat, because it's not only just a courtroom, but they also have to practice within the laws of like the military and how to speak to upstanding, like people at higher ranks. Like, that's crazy to me. Not if that person's wrong in the trial, but he's a general. Like, you have to walk a very fine line, or you can just be thrown in jail, which this movie does such a masterclass. I love, like, the entire time, like, them, like, planning it at home and talking about it and building up that thing. The movie would be slightly better if Jason Alexander got to play the role instead of Kevin Pollak, because, man, no, I'm just kidding. But great movie. Great movie.
Please explain this joke to me.
It's not
So,
a joke.
he was
actually
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Jason Alexander was supposed to originally play Lieutenant Weinberg, which is Kevin Pollak's character in the movie.
That's crazy.
But
And I
think
was like, if
Seinfeld
you
was
can't,
big of a
I said in the 90s, if you can't get Jason Alexander, you know who you can get? Kevin Pollak. You can definitely afford Kevin Pollak, because he is
he's
definitely
great at the
like,
movie.
he's great. I wouldn't cast anybody else, because he loses at one point in the movie, like, and he does such a good job of it. But I'm like, if in the 90s, if you said who's a discount Jason Alexander, it would be Kevin Pollak. But it's a great movie.
Kirk.
Yeah, I don't love this movie as much as everybody else does. I've come to appreciate it more over the years. I think it's a 5-star all-time final scene, and I think the rest of the movie kind of, not the rest of the movie's bad, but it kind of like rides the coattails of that scene. Cruise, I think, leading up to, I think Cruise is hit or miss in the movie. I think he's doing there's some stuff there I don't love. Demi Moore and Kevin Pollak, I don't think Kevin Pollak's this kind of anything. He had a great run in the 90s, and he's really good. I love those scenes of them just like getting together and planning everything and preparing. Excuse me, sorry. And just, I think, how you were talking about like the different ideas. I love it when they're having that conversation. It's like, why do you hate them so much? Why do you like them so much?
Yeah.
Just like the different, views they take on these people. But yeah, getting back to that last scene, it is just so amazing. I love the chess game that's going on, how he's just like, I'm just going to go for it. There's only one way we can win this, and I have to make it happen. And just the back and forth, they both know what he's trying to do. And but just the way, and it plays into what Cody was saying, like how you have to use like the military protocol and everything, and the way the judge gets involved, and how Cruz uses the way the judges, his view of Nicholson and what Nicholson does against him. It's just such a perfectly written scene and perfectly acted scene. Nicholson's great. I wish there's a little more Nicholson in this, but otherwise, yeah, like I said, I don't love it as much as everybody else does, but I don't begrudge anybody else's passion for it.
Okay. We are back up to Boatman. Boatman, what's your next pick?
Yeah, I'm going with Reversal of Fortune. This is not like a true courtroom movie, because the majority of it doesn't really take place in the courtroom, but it's a legal thriller based on a true story. Kind of goes back and forth between flashbacks of Jeremy Irons and Glenn Close, and basically
1990.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically like, the core mystery surrounding the film is, did Jeremy Irons kill Glenn Close? And it's basically surrounding that, but then also the legal case of Jeremy Irons hiring Alan Dershowitz to defend him in court. So it's like a based on true story. Ron Silver is Alan Dershowitz, and he's great. He's like fantastic in this movie, and it's kind of like he and Irons are almost like co-leads, because there's a lot on like Irons finding defenses, and like, yeah, I really like this movie a lot.
I have not seen this, but I remember it being brought up. It wasn't on this show, so it must have been on YLS, probably for courtroom shows. But I am interested in it, for sure. So, but I have not seen it. Cody.
I'm really glad he brought this up, because I wouldn't have thought about it. When we went through Best Actor last year, this was one of my surprise hits. I'm kind of surprised I put it at 4 stars. It's probably more of a 4.5 looking back on it. Jeremy Irons is absolutely incredible in this movie. He will always have a special spot for voice and Scar, but seeing him like basically be like that ruthless person throughout this movie, and leaves you, and the movie even kind of leaves you in that question mark, like, did he do it, did he not? Because there's a scene at the very end that I'm just like, oh my god, like, this movie doesn't like end. It's not a scene, but like, again, Irons presents everything. He's very upstanding. He knows how to talk. He knows how to like maneuver through everything. So it sounds like he's just doing the best he can for his wife at the time. But there's also some definite gray areas that he's messing with some stuff. Definitely deserving of the Oscar. He's incredible in this movie. But yeah, I would definitely check it out. I don't want to tell too much because it's a really good watch.
Okay. Kirk?
I haven't seen it. To be honest, I've heard about the movie. I knew because Irons won the Oscar for it and everything, but I really never even knew what it was about. I didn't know it was a courtroom movie. So probably worth checking out.
And Scott?
I've actually never seen it either. I certainly know the subject material, and it is based on a true story. But like Boatman said, but yeah, for some reason I've just missed it. But I really should watch this one. It seems up my alley for sure.
Yeah, I'd never even heard of this when Boatman brought it up, and then you're saying that he won the Oscar for it and everything. Wow. No, I'll definitely add this to the list. Okay. Let's move on to Cody's next pick.
Yeah, I went back to that movie. I've never even heard of it prior to the thing, and when I watched it, I was like, "Oh crap, this movie it needs to be talked about more." I'm going with a fairly obvious one. It's not the one that I've talked about in nauseam. I'm in a tough pickle because both I could do talk. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for the classic. I'm gonna go Witness for the Prosecution.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Witness for the Prosecution. I've talked about the one that's an nauseam almost, and I've talked about this one too, but this one is more that I think is still underseen compared to the other one. Witness for the Prosecution is a fantastic courtroom drama, especially set in England, where their system's a little bit. I think it's similar. I don't know. Again, I don't know anything about law, but I don't know how it compares to our style and what we do. But it's such an interesting story of basically lawyer Charles Lawton is just recovering from coming out of the hospital. He's needed and asked to take on this case. He ends up taking it on. It has so many twists and turns going back and forth. I think all the performances are great. Who plays the girl in this movie?
Marlene Dietrich, yeah.
Yeah, outstanding, incredible in this movie. She's probably the standout of this movie. She has multiple layers to her performances, and that's all I'll say about that. But again, Billy Wilder, of a classic director, gets a lot of praise. I think he deserves a lot of this praise. But this is one of those movies that, when I watched it, went straight up my top 100, and it stayed at my top 100. Yeah, it's got some twists and turns. Overall, Charles Lawton is a fantastic actor. I don't think he gets talked about as much as he probably should, of being an actor of the in the classic era. So yeah, I tell everybody to check this one
out. Yeah, you told me months ago that I would really like this, and I've been told. I think Boatman also recommended this to me. But I haven't gotten to it yet. But like I said earlier about the classics, I feel like this is definitely one that I would like. So it's on my radar. I just need to actually get down. Let's be real, the best way for me to get to watch this, put it on 4K. Kino Libor or somewhere. Put it on 4K. You just put The Apartment on 4K. I bought it. I finally watched it. Put this one on 4K. Then I'll watch it. But no, I'm excited too. I've heard only ridiculously good things. So it is on. Is it streaming anywhere?
I don't know. I think it's on. I know it's on my Vudu, but other than that.
Oh, okay. Well, this is one we watch, Cody, this weekend then, or something.
Oh, good. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would like to watch it. Okay, Boatman, what do you think about this one?
Brilliant movie. Marlene Dietrich's performance is so good, and it's hard to talk about specifically why her performance is so good without spoiling the movie. Like, for people who've seen the movie, they know what I'm talking about, but people who haven't, I don't want to spoil it because not everyone has seen this. But yeah, it's really good. Lawton is also just one of those classic actors who, like, heck yeah, anytime he does anything.
Kirk.
I've seen it. It's been a while. I remember really liking it, but I have to give it a rewatch.
Scott.
Amazing film. It was I watched it for the first time and I was in like 8th or 9th grade. I can remember watching it on Turner Classic Movies, and it's been one of my favorites ever since. It has great moments of like levity too that come from Charles Lawton's character, and especially his relationship with his nurse, with Elsa Lancaster, as his nurse. Like their dynamic is so funny. And then yeah, the courtroom scenes are great, just like in A Few Good Men. Like I love when he crosses the old lady who can't hear, and he like throws his voice basically to like demonstrate how she can't hear, and he's like, "You identified the voice unmistakably as," and then he just like drops his voice and is like, "The prisoner Leonard Vole," and then everyone goes crazy, and he's like, "No further questions." Just like the way he says it is so perfect. It's a great movie.
All right. We will go to my next pick. So when I was thinking about this topic, I think Cody knows where I'm going. When I was thinking about this topic, like I said, I Googled like courtroom movies. I was trying to think of like what I could come up with. And then I had to think about like, I'm not going to make it through this. What is more demeaning, or what's like a more exciting case in the law than whether or not someone is a person? And that is exactly the type of thing we explore in the intense courtroom drama Ted 2. We explore in this film that, is Ted a person? Is he real? Do we actually look at Ted as a human or property? All of this, Boatman thinks I'm joking. This is my pick. I'm dead serious. No, this is totally 100% my pick. I'm being facetious, but this is a courtroom. This is a legal drama, and I fucking love it. Everyone knows how much I love Ted. I strongly love that first movie, and honestly, 2021 was the year I bumped Ted up to 5 stars because I said, you know what? Those people can't keep me down. I love this movie. It's perfect. It's a Tim movie. 5 stars to me. That's all that matters. Ted 2 is close. It's close to getting there. I genuinely really like the movie. I think it's hilarious, but also like I actually do really love the court stuff. It's stupid. But I feel like it mixes my favorite stuff about comedy and then courtroom stuff and puts it in one package, and I'm into that. And they spend a good long while on the court stuff in this movie. It's like the main plot of the film is going to trial, trying to find out if Ted is property or his own thing. And it actually, again, you can make fun of me all you want, but it actually hits some like pretty interesting, like emotional beats for like a movie that by all means is a stoner comedy. They actually talk about stuff like Ted is married and they completely get rid of his, like completely take away his marriage legally. And like that type of, it's actually like an interesting thing when you break it down. Really stupid fucking movie, but I think really hilarious. And this is the first thing I thought of when we thought of courtrooms, because I knew everyone was going to be like, witness for the prosecution and 12 Angry Men, and then Tim would be here like, Ted 2, bitches, let's fucking go. So the first film, better movie, but Ted 2, better courtroom.
Better film.
Yeah, a better film. Yeah, Morgan Freeman plays a lawyer in this. It's great. It's a great film. Fuck yeah. Cody, let's watch it this week. Boatman, have you seen? I know you've seen Ted 1. Have you seen Ted 2?
No.
Oh, you gotta do it. You liked the first one, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm saying, do I have to? Like,
oh, you don't have to. You should. Cody, Ted 2.
So I knew Tim was going to bring this movie up when I saw his shit-eating grin when he was like trying to talk about it, like when he was thinking about should I bring it up. My friend has problems because he likes a lot of the sequels of comedies that I just don't love the sequels of. Like, I don't love Ted 2. I don't love Anchorman 2. I probably wouldn't like Step Brothers 2, but he would probably love that movie too. Like, so he likes to chuckle. So I'm glad that a teddy bear can. This sure as hell counts. Like, again, this is I mean, is the law correct? God, no. But is it fun to watch? Sure, I guess for him. But nothing will beat the first Ted. Nothing will beat the first Ted. So.
Oh, movie magic. Yeah.
Or is the floor on the
shit? Or is the floor on the shit? This movie. Sorry, I gotta jump back in before Kirk and Scott tear me apart. Before Kirk and Scott just rip me a new one. There's a scene in this movie that I don't think I laugh so hard every time, and it's Liam Neeson, bringing him back up, walking into the grocery store with a box of Trix cereal. Or trying to pay for it, but he's like, "Now I've heard the cereal is made exclusively for children." Yeah, but anybody could just buy it and go. So if I buy this cereal, you promise I won't be followed? No, we do not have that in the budget. Just like that whole scene is so fucking dumb, but amazing. And that is this movie. Like the first one is actually like has like. This one too has a very coherent story, but this one especially is filled with just like little like Family Guy vignettes like that are just so fucking hilarious. Anyway, Kirk, go ahead and make me sad.
I've never seen Ted 2, but when you start talking about going to court to determine if somebody's a person or not, you reminded me of one of the all-time great Star Trek Next Generation episodes, Measures of a Man. Where there's a Starfleet officer who wants to basically claim Data as property for Starfleet and tear him apart and figure out how he works. And Captain Picard has to defend him because of weird Starfleet rules and TV. William Riker is the prosecution and has to prove that Data is not a person. Yeah. And it is a great episode. It is Picard gives one of his all-time great Picard speeches. And if you like courtroom drama in any media, I recommend checking out that episode, Measure of a Man. But I've never seen Ted 2.
That is like the literal plot of Ted 2. And I know Seth MacFarlane is a huge Star Trek fan, so that makes a lot of sense. Scott.
Tim, you haven't even seen like Philadelphia or something.
I have seen Philadelphia, which is also a 5-star movie, but I gotta stay on brand sometimes.
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen Ted 1 either.
Scott, do yourself a favor, man.
I don't watch comedies.
Get yourself an Apache helicopter.
An Apache helicopter has missiles and a machine gun. It is a totally comparable piece of machinery, an absolute death machine. Anyway, woo! Okay, we're gonna move on to Kirk. Kirk, what's your next pick?
Okay, I have it narrowed down to 2, and I can't decide, so I'll leave it up to you guys. Should I go with kind of like the more like standard, fair courtroom pick, or should I go with the pick that's a little more out of left field?
We did the YLS episode with most of the standard picks, so I say get weird.
Yeah.
Go left.
Okay, I'm definitely going to go with a movie that you don't really consider at all as a courtroom movie, but it is. I'm going to go with Rashomon. Because at Rashomon, if you haven't seen it, the whole framing device, it's famous for having the different perspectives of different people in the same situation. But the framing device it's a trial. The story at hand is a murder, and they're trying to determine the guilt of innocence of the killer. The story is great. I mean, obviously, everybody knows Rashomon and just the influence it's had. Movies like The Last Duel a couple years ago last year came out, and kind of really follows that path of just seeing the same situation through a different set of eyes, and just the way things are slightly different or look different. It's really well made that way. But the courtroom stuff, a lot of fun. The the story itself is kind of the main story is kind of serious. The courtroom stuff I wouldn't say is it's not comic relief, but it kind of like takes a little bit of the air out of it, gives you a little break. It's a lot of fun. Toshiro Mifune is the accused killer, and he is just completely off the hook in this. He is just going nuts. He's basically like laughing at the whole thing. Like he knows he's guilty. He doesn't care. And he's just kind of having fun with the whole thing. One of the witnesses in the trial is the ghost of the victim who possesses a medium and gives their perspective of it. And everybody just like, yeah, okay, we'll accept it. So it's a great movie, but like I said, the courtroom stuff that you don't think about is a lot of fun too. So figured worthy making the list.
This sounds awesome. One of my last 4 challenges for the video store letterbox challenge is the Akira Kurosawa movie. You might have just convinced me. I've been waiting to watch Yojimbo, but this might be the one now.
This is one of the shorter ones too, so that's nice.
Ooh, yeah, you just sold me even more. So I haven't seen it obviously, but I've been sold. Scott, have you seen this?
No, it's funny you say that though, Tim, because for my challenge that I'm doing, I'm also doing a Kurosawa film in like 2 weeks, and I believe I have Rashomon slated down to do. So I'll be watching it soon, and I'm sure I'm going to love it because I have seen 2 Kurosawa films, and they were both 5 stars. So
nice. Boatman.
Yeah, this movie's really good. This was the first Kurosawa I saw, and I like this one a lot. It's been a while since I've seen it, but like the shifting perspectives is like the iconic thing about this movie, and I love those types of stories. So yeah, excellent.
Cody, what about you?
I haven't seen it, but if you and I hang out we can watch this on 2 times speed and get it done in 44 minutes.
Nice.
I was going to say, y'all are going to have to watch these on 2 times speed if you watch every movie that you've said you're going to watch when you're together.
Oh no, we're doing nothing.
We're together for 4 days, so
just make sure you squeeze Drive My Car in there somewhere.
Only if we can skip the first 45 minutes of it.
Yeah.
We'll just 2 times speed the first 45 minutes because it didn't really get going in the first 45. Okay. Let's move over to Scott for your second pick.
I picked this movie when we did YLS, but I'm going to pick it again because it's still my mission to make sure everyone in the community watches it. Dark Waters.
Hell yeah.
I love this movie. I know Cody doesn't love it as much as I do, but I think this movie belongs because it is the best movie I've seen about like corporate law and what corporations can do to like real people when they get involved in lawsuits. A Civil Action is another movie that similar, also environmental law setup, but I think this one does it a little bit better. But it's a true story about this guy, Rob Ballot, who's a lawyer in Cincinnati, played by Mark Ruffalo, who gets involved. He's a big corporate lawyer. He doesn't really represent individuals, but through his family in West Virginia, he gets involved with these people who have been poisoned in the water by DuPont's chemical dumping. DuPont being the company that makes Teflon. And as he begins investigating, he realizes he uncovers kind of a conspiracy and a cover up within DuPont, and how they know what they're doing and the effects that it has on people, but they don't care. But it turns into this like decade long lawsuit, and some of the people involved like pass away. It takes like a huge physical toll on Rob Ballot, on Mark Ruffalo's character, and obviously he's giving an incredible performance. Like, this is the type of movie he's just like so locked in on always. And like I said, it just goes to show like how these big corporations like DuPont can be so morally bankrupt and use the system basically, and use their immense wealth to suck the life out of people, quite literally in some instances, and drag these lawsuits on for years and years until the people either pass away or give up because they can't afford to like keep fighting the lawsuit and paying a lawyer for it. And so it can be a depressing story at times, but it's a very important one. And I think there is a measure of hope at the end that this guy, Rob Ballot, after all this, he keeps on fighting. Anne Hathaway plays his wife. I think she has some good moments. Tim Robbins is his boss, and he's really solid in the movie. And Bill Camp is amazing in this movie. He plays the West Virginia farmer who first gets Mark Ruffalo involved with the case. You may look at the subject matter and think it's not super interesting, but trust me, the way the engrossing nature of the story, you will get wrapped up in it. And Todd Haynes is such a great filmmaker, and the way he works with Edward Lackman, the cinematographer here, the way this movie is shot, it's so dark and sickly and gray. It just makes you feel a particular way. It's just excellent all across the board.
Yeah, I saw this in the theater back in 2019, and I really
Oh. Bye, Tim.
Watch Spotlight.
Cody, have you seen it?
Watch Spotlight over this. He's
Why not
gone.
both?
Because this movie's boring.
No, it's
It is, sir. But overall, I think maybe if I rewatched it, I might like it more. But I think Barr talked about it a lot. Like, he enjoyed it. And I was just like, really? So I checked it out. Again, Barr's picks normally suck. But he's back. I think he's back. I think he
Also,
might be back.
Joseph in the chat, scroll back like maybe 40 minutes on the video because you might find something interesting there as far as the insider goes.
Yeah, but overall, don't love it. Yes.
I was saying I saw this back in the theater when it came out. Really liked it then. I should probably give it a rewatch. But I got a lot of other stuff to watch. But I liked it a lot when it came out. It was was probably in my top 30 of that year. So yeah. So Cody just talked about it. Boatman, did you?
I have not seen it.
Kirk, what about you?
I haven't seen it. Sounds like a very Scott movie. Probably, obviously very important. Well written out. I probably wouldn't love it, but it's also probably an objectively pretty good movie.
Okay. So that's everybody for Dark Waters, right? Okay. So the list is up on Letterboxd. Go over there and check it out. Everything we talked about tonight going to be up on the Letterboxd. And then we're going to close out the show by talking about our movie of the month, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like I said at the top, life was hell this week. Had a lot going on. I really wanted to get to this, but I have the day off tomorrow, my first day off in a minute. So I will be watching it tomorrow, and I will be able to talk about it in a couple weeks here. So, Boatman, you want to start us off on talking about it tonight?
Sure, yeah. This is an incredible movie. Love the dynamic. Like, this is a movie that is built off the dynamics of the three characters, and these three characters are like so great. I love Eli Wallach as Tuco. Like, that performance is so fun because he's such like a Weasley character. Believe in Cleef and Clint Eastwood are great too. The one thing Leone was like great at was character introductions, and he has three great separate introductions for all of these characters. Love this movie. That final shootout is iconic for a reason. Fantastic.
What would you give it, Boatman?
4.5 out of 5.
Perfect. Cody.
So I watched this the first time for Top 100 with Jake. Loved it. Rewatched it today. It got better for me. Lee Van Cleef is outstanding in this movie. I think he's absolutely incredible. When you're bringing up introductions, that shot where he's at the doorway and he's making his way into the room, it's like one of the most, like, this guy is somebody you don't want to mess with. I think that's exactly where Tarantino also gets from Inglourious Bastards, the milk scene, because of that, how he's able to start talking to him and seems normal, and then it switches like on a dime, and he gets very like uncomfortable by it. I think it's absolutely incredible. The shootout is great. But yeah, Leave It in Cleveland. I want to watch more stuff with him in it. The fact is, I watched this, and I said the same thing last time, and I didn't watch anything. But I'm making a point. The score, the build up, and again, like some things like overstay their welcome. Like there are numerous times I'm like, oh, could this go? But I think that what he does so well in this movie is the tension he's able to build throughout it. Like, if it moved faster or if it moved at a quicker pace, I think the tension's not as great, especially in that final shootout. It's not as like interesting. I think the dialogue is really smart in this movie too. I think that is something that is for a 3-hour movie. The dialogue has to keep you attached to it the whole time, and I think this movie does. I think of the movies that walk the line of like talked about classics, does it live up? This is one that deserves all the praise it gets and all the hype.
What would you give it, Cody?
5 stars.
Nice. Okay. Kirk.
I've seen it. I'm back in a couple weeks, and I want to try and give it a fresh watch before I talk about it. Although I do want to call out Payson Johnson. I was watching the show last week, and he said he assumed Clint Eastwood played the ugly. And I don't know what he's talking about because young Clint Eastwood is one of the most beautiful human beings that's ever walked the face of this earth. So
was he joking?
No, he said that's what he thought. He was surprised, but he wasn't the ugly. Yeah, Scott Eastwood's a good-looking guy, but he looks like a total pile of crap next to his dad in his prime. So I don't know what Pace was talking about. By full
Scott
review.
Eastwood catching a stray.
I think the only thing that's weird about that, I think everybody of that movie is pretty quick to like as soon as the introductions, you can determine who's all the people pretty quickly, in my opinion. I don't know, but my opinion.
So Kirk will get your review in a couple weeks. Scott.
Yeah, unfortunately, I actually thought this was next week, so I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. I have seen the movie before. It has been some time. But I remember really enjoying it, and agreeing with what everyone says here. I wish I had more to say. It is one that I'm definitely due for a rewatch on. So I don't know if I'm going to be back on before the end of the month, but I will try to rewatch it regardless. But if it matters, I think I have it at like 4.5 or something on Letterboxd.
Okay, I will put that down
if I have it logged.
Yeah, no, I will put that down. To call out Joseph, I love you, man. But me and Boatman, we host the show. I'm not going to mark us as not watching it because we can do whatever we want. But Kirk, you bet your ass. I just put in the review. Kirk hasn't rewatched it yet. Me and Caleb don't matter, though. So anyway, that is going to be it for this
I
show.
love the way you talk.
Thank you. That's going to be it for the show today. Next week is Guilty Pleasures, hosted Volume 2, hosted by Kaleb Boatman. So that'll be Boatman with 3 others. I forget who is on the panel. I want to say it's Garth. And then there's 2 others that I cannot think of off the top of my head that are going to be on that. That filled up pretty quickly. And then the week after that, Boatman is off, and I will be hosting over-the-top action movies. Like Kirk said, he will be on that. I forget who else is on that one, but that we have a full panel for that already as well.
Probably Brian,
yeah.
I would guess Mike.
I don't think Brian is on that.
Wow.
It's almost like I could just look this shit up. So Boatman's show next week is going to be Garth, Brooklyn, Pinchuck, and Boatman. That's going to be next week. And then the week...
Who?
There.
Pinchuck and who?
Brooklyn and Garth.
Oh, Boatman.
Stop
That is going to
it.
be a show.
Stop it. And then the week after that, over-the-top action movies. Okay, so you were right about Mike Hanley, Kirk, Jake Marangoni, Jake Meltzer, and myself. So that's going to be final. Yeah. That'll be a fun show. And then we will have the October stuff very soon. Can't believe that's where we're already getting towards. Holy shit, this year's going by fast. But I want to thank everybody here for the show tonight, keeping it under 2 hours. I like to see it. We will see you guys next time with Guilty Pleasures Volume 2. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
In case I don't see you. Good afternoon, good evening, good